Hey, welcome back, everyone. How you doing? It is me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. I want to talk about the OLED and the burn-in and what is the best way to avoid the burn-in. Well, first and foremost, you need to understand how the burn-in can potentially happen. One of the ways that burn-in can happen on your OLED panel is simply by having the OLED light left at the maximum. Why is this important to remember? Because the OLED light and organic light emitting diodes are emitting simultaneously by themselves. They are emitting every and each pixel by themselves. Therefore, that means that every and each pixel will be presented with that brightness of OLED. Now, when we say brightness, we're talking about raising that luminance brightness from that every and each pixel, every and each diode. So that means if you have that OLED light all the way to the maximum and you keep it at maximum while watching a certain content, for example, let's say you're watching Sky News or Sky Networks or CNN, ESPN, Fox News, ABC, NBC, Eurosport, any of these channels that have a logo that's implemented on there. You have to keep in mind that there's a good possibility if you're watching your television, your OLED television with that peak brightness set to maximum, and you watch that news channel or their sports channel for 12 hours a day, every day, and you have that OLED brightness cranked up all the way high, there's a good possibility that you will get that burn in. Now, this doesn't mean that will happen immediately. It doesn't mean that's going to happen right away. What it basically means is that you're going to shorten the lifespan of your OLED. Okay? Now, the question is, do you really need that OLED light? Is that OLED light really that important on dark room areas? I personally watch my OLED in the dark rooms. I didn't purchase this OLED to be watching it in a very lit up, bright areas. This is why you have QLED. This is why you go with the LCD, LED backlit technology, because that's the most brightest that you can get currently right now. OLED, it's really meant, in my opinion, to be watched in a dark rooms for the movies, and that's the way I look at it. Now, currently, right now, I'm using a standard user mode because this is not HDR; it's just a 4K. So what I usually do here, I leave my energy savings to medium. This is an important part right here. It's good to leave your energy savings on a medium. I would suggest that you guys do this for your OLED all the time. As you can see, my OLED light it's 83, my contrast at 95. OLED at 83, it's really not that bad as long as you're not exceeding it all the way high. I mean, you can move it down lower if you want. In my opinion, if you're in a very dark room, I would leave it to 73. I think at 73, you will appreciate your OLED even more in a dark room with 73. Because you really don't need that peak brightness on the OLED if you're not using the HDR. If you're using the HDR, you're going to need it, but if you're not using the HDR, you're not really going to need it that much. So the question is, how can you know 100% that you're not going to get a burn-in? Well, no one can guarantee you. Here's the thing that people need to understand about the OLED technology. No one can guarantee you that you're not going to get that burn-in. It depends. It really depends on so many factors. It depends on how you take care of it. It depends on how you're watching it. What do I mean by how you're watching it? If you do this, for example, I'll give you one example. Let me give you one example. This is a good example right here. If I do this, and I leave this tape like this, and I leave it always like this, constantly, well, guess what? If I leave it like this, and I keep it like this for about let's say 6 hours every day, the chances are over time, a month from now, 2 months from now, it will be there. That burning will be there. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to avoid any static imagery. That's what really it's about. It's about you avoiding that static imagery. Um, Another problem could be also if you're watching the Xbox. Let's say you go to the Xbox and your Xbox, it's always there. It's not on a standby dimmed mode. If it's just having that static imagery with user interface, that could be a problem too. So this is fine. Like watching something like this that's moving with a different imagery, this is okay. At 73% OLED light or even at 83% OLED light, you're going to be fine. You're not going to be really jeopardizing too much. But here is what's not okay. Let me show you what's not okay. Now, luckily, I was smart enough to put my Xbox on a standby mode. If I'm not using it within like 2 minutes, goes directly on a standby mode. It dims itself down. This is a cool thing to do. But this is a problem. This thing right here, if you have something like a notification bump into, and then the notification always sits there like that, that could be a problem. Another problem you can have is this. If your Xbox or your PlayStation user interface sits like this and it doesn't dim down, it's always like this, okay, guess what happens? If you, let's say, forgot to turn your television off, you had to go somewhere, do something, do some errands, right? And you leave it like this, well, the problem's going to be here. It's going to persist because this right here is going to, over time, it's going to be like a static image. Like a static image is going to stay there. Like this will show up as a burn in. Anna's face right here will show up as a burn in. Metro and all these other apps that are sitting here will show up as a burn in. But when does that burn in happen? Well, the only way it's going to happen quicker is if you do this. Okay? If your OLED light, it's not all the way maxed out, then you're going to have a less chance of that happening. If your OLED light is left at 73, then you're on the safe side. And this is why I keep telling people, if you're not using HDR, if your game doesn't support HDR, you really don't need that OLED light all the way to the maximum. You should avoid that OLED light going all the way to the maximum. Keep it at 73. And I honestly, the reason I got this OLED because I like to watch it in the dark room. Okay, it's great for movies. It's also good for the games. If you want the brightest TV, then you have to go with the Samsung. Samsung right now and Sony, and these two are really bright. That's what you're going to be looking for. You want to go with the Quantum Dots, QLED, or Sony Z9F. Okay. But or Z9D. But for the OLED, honestly, just leave it at 73, guys. What I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to give you some tips. You know, people ask me, how do I avoid it? Well, this is how you avoid it. Keep it here. Keep it at 73. This is how you avoid it. Okay? Now, luckily, I have this on a standby, so after 2 minutes, it's going to go and dim down. But if you don't have it on a standby, that's going to be another problem. You want to make sure that your television, it's always on a standby mode. Even this, after 2 minutes, will go on a standby mode. And it's going to, that's another precaution you can use. After 2 minutes, this will be on a standby mode. And guess what? I don't have to worry about potential burn in because I have my OLED light at 73. And at the same time, after 2 minutes, this screen will dim itself. Therefore, it's going to avoid any potential burn that might happen. Now, another good thing to do, it's obviously use a standby light. Go to your general settings and use a standby light turn this on. This will also help you uh, reduce that potential risk of burning, because this is great if you are busy talking on the phone to somebody and you don't have time to turn off the TV and you forget. This happens to all of us. This is a cool feature, a very cool feature to use to, in 5 minutes, if you're not using your television, this will automatically dim down the screen and you will see some like a little fireworks of colors just popping out. It's going to be on a standby mode and you're going to reduce the risk of burning. This is another great precaution to take and avoid that unnecessary burning. But the best way to do it is to watch out for that OLED light. To watch out for that OLED light. If you're not watching HDR, you don't need it. Honestly, you really don't need to mess around with that. And of course, standby light. It's another thing good to use. Same thing on your Xbox. You want to make sure that your Xbox has, after 5 minutes, dim the screen, be in a standby mode. All of these things can help. Same thing on your Oppo, on your 4K UHD player. These things can really help. Yeah. So the way I want to end this video is just by saying that the OLED, yes, it does have that risk of the burning. Anybody who owns OLED TV will tell you there's that potential burning risk that can happen. No one's trying to hide that fact. No one is trying to deny that fact. Okay, everybody knows that. But I believe, and I think I'm going to prove it to you. I think I'm going to be a living proof with my OLED, with this TV. Even 2 years from now, this TV won't get any burning. That's because I know how to use it. That's because I know what kind of precautions to use. It's like anything else in life. How you take care of your health, how you take care of your body, do you exercise, what you eat, how you take care of your car, do you change the oil, do you change the tires, all of these things, do you change spark plugs? It's like anything else. Same thing with your air condition. Do you change the filter? All of that stuff. It's really a maintenance on how you maintenance your OLED TV. And I know a good subscriber of mine, Howdy will agree with me on this. Big shout out to Howdy. I'm sure Howdy will agree with me on this. And it's really how you take care of it, honestly. And it's like anything else. It's like self-maintenance. How well do you maintenance your OLED TV? And I think that's the important part to remember here. And here I am with 73% OLED light, and it still looks bright. And it still looks good and vivid, And a lot of people say, but what is the point? And this is a good question. Okay, fine. I'll take that question. A lot of people say, but then what is the point of buying an OLED? Well, it's exactly what Ridley Scott was saying. If you truly want to appreciate the movies the way the film director has intended, the way Ridley Scott has intended his movies to look on the screen, with the principal photography, with everything. If you want to truly experience that movie the way it was meant to be, the organic light emitting diode is the best way to do that. And it's true. The LCD LED backlit, yes, you're still going to enjoy that picture. It's still going to give you good picture quality. No one's saying that you're not going to enjoy watching a movie on a QLED or on a LED LCD panel. No one's denying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not advocating that. I have QLED. I have a bunch of LED, LCD televisions. I'm not denying any of that. But I'm simply saying that the full immersive experience of a movie is going to be much greater on the OLED. Okay? And this is something that Ridley Scott said, something that Francis Ford Coppola said about the OLED. It's not just me saying it, but I agree with that statement because this is not my first time having an OLED. I had OLED before, so I know what OLED can do. This camera here, it's not doing it justice. You can't really judge a video through a camera. Vincentio has told you this. I'm telling you this. Everyone will tell you this. You can't judge a television through a camera lens. It's just simply not going to happen. Okay? So, this is the important part that I think people need to remember. Okay, so I'm going to drop some more of these videos from time to time. I'm trying to give you some helpful tips, and hopefully some of these videos and tips help you understand on how you can reduce a unnecessary burn-in on your OLED TV. Thank you for watching.